was between the ages of 8 to 10. So I was sleeping, and then out of nowhere I'd wake up crying, yelling, and asking to be helped. I think I was so scared that I couldn't say what it was that woke me, but my dream was that I was looking over a big pool of water, and it looked peaceful, just plain water. And then over time it would like form or materialize into a humanoid figure. It's really weird. It's the shape of a young kid. And then at that point, that would be the time I would wake up freaking out, crying, and asking for my parents. So every time it happened, I would tire myself out, and then I'd fall asleep, and then I'd wake up again. So it happened so many times that night, got so bad to the point that the neighbors got curious or like scared because it happened too much that night. So I don't know who advised or suggested that, but we ended up going to a witch doctor's place down the street. This place where I went to, those typical movies that feature like houses of witches, dark, scary, just old, rickety house, no light source but just candles. And the difference at that time was there were like a lot of people there asking for help. So I was one of them. And at a young age, you don't know what's happening. So the weird part was I was actually comfortable. I wasn't freaking out. I just was watching what was happening. Anyway, what I remember happened was she asked me to sit, this old lady, and then she started rubbing oil all over my body. And then after that, she took like a white candle and rubbed it against my body too. Afterwards, she lit the candle, and then she let it melt over like a big bucket of water. So as expected, it would form like droplets, like nothing special. But over time, it started looking like a humanoid figure. It looked perfect. It's as if like something paused out of nowhere and then they placed like a different wax figure there, because it looked like those typical things that you see in restrooms. Yeah, the boys' restroom, like the typical sign there. That was what it looked like. And it was the same shape that I was seeing in my dream, which was really weird. She said when she took it was, I angered an Engkanto. And I think you're familiar with Engkantos. What they said, at least here in the Philippines, were it could be like a lost soul or like a soul that inhabits a part of any old locations. It could be an ancestor, elves, or whatever, but yeah, that's what she said. I angered an Engkanto because the thing here is the day before that, the night that I experienced that, I was staying at my grandma's place for a sleepover. And the morning after, I was showering in their bathroom. I was making a mess of the place. And apparently that's where I disturbed the Engkanto. So what she decided to do, the witch doctor, was she took or ripped a piece of page from a Bible. She soaked it in oil, same thing that she was rubbing on me. And then she crushed like the melted wax that formed the humanoid figure. And she placed it in there and then fold it neatly, and then she placed it on my back. And she was like, keep this, don't lose it for tonight when you go home or when you get back to bed. Place it under your pillow, sleep on it, and then by the next day throw away the crashed wax down the drain. Then you can keep the paper as long as you can. And I slept like a baby that night, like nothing happened. Yeah, that was like the start of a lot of things at home. My grandma has like a lot of small statues of gnomes, and that person said that our place is like crawling with them. So maybe it could be that, but I'm not really sure. My grandma like had this big garden, but the difference with hers is she has like a lot of trees in front of the house. And as kids, you'd play around, step all over the place, or dig stuff like that, or even just pull some leaves just for the fun of it. We would be always calling, ask nicely if you can step over there, because someone might be living there and you're not aware of it. Might step on them. So we would like, I'm sorry, can we just call this go by here? We don't mean any harm, stuff like that, and say sorry afterwards. My grandma had like this obsession with small statues of gnomes, like small people. And she would say, we have friends in the house, outside garden, everywhere, basically, the entire lot itself. And apparently, it's both nice and bad only if you do something off to them. But that's one thing that she would practice. She would have those marbles or crystals, and she said that's what they would feed on. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's what she told us, that the gnomes were helping us have like a good life and whatever. But yeah, what she told was the gnomes were basically a part of the house itself, and it lived among us, it watched over us, and then it was hiding like the gold. So it's a 2-bedroom apartment, and the bedrooms itself are adjacent to each other, and both of those doors are facing both the living room, kitchen, and dining room, which is basically, I'm saying that the house is really small. And we were staying in my mom's room. And then I woke up possibly like 6 p.m. or later than that. And I woke up to the sound of my mom and my dad talking. So when I saw her, she was facing the door, which I believe she was talking to my dad, who was in the kitchen. So my dad was asking for change. She was going to buy some cigarettes. And I can see her hair was braided. She had floral pants and like a white shirt, just a plain shirt, but I couldn't see her face because she was facing away from me. So I was still a bit sleepy. I was trying to wake myself up, and then I just heard my dad walk out the door. I didn't see him at all, but I heard him walking out, and I could hear the car in the background. By the way, we were located in the second floor. Anyway, when I was fully awake, that's when I stood up and I started calling out to my mom. Again, the place is really small, so I can get to her just a few steps away. So the moment I stood up and started walking after her, she started walking out of the room. I had to whisper because my baby brother was still asleep. So I was like, Mom. And then I remember the room was like adjacent. My room was adjacent to hers, so she had to just take a left turn to get to my room. But again, I was just a few steps behind her, so it wouldn't be that difficult to catch up to her. So when we stepped out in the room, I assumed that she took a left turn into my room because she was just not in front of me anymore. So I was like, okay, she's walking fast. Let me just follow her. And then when it got to my room, the door was closed. So I was like, okay, that was really fast. So just instinctively opened the door, and then when I opened the door, the lights were out. So like, why would she come in my room and then close the door and then leave the lights on? I was like, okay, weird. And then I turned on the lights, and she wasn't there. But I know that I was following her. Like, I could see her. And all of a sudden, I was freaking. I was like, okay, let me check downstairs. My dad might be there. I couldn't leave the house, so I just peeked down the stairs. I couldn't hear the car engine anymore. And then usually my dad, if he would smoke, he would stay in front of the door to smoke. So I was like, he's not here. And then when I started looking for them, my phone just rang immediately. I can't remember, it was 2000 at that time, so I had like Nokia 3210, so it was really loud. I had to run to it and answer it right away because I didn't want to wake my brother up. I was like, answered it, and then it was my mom. I was like, why is she calling me? She was just here. And then she said, we're gonna be late. There's a couple more customers that called in for the groceries they want to do, and we'll be home, we'll have takeout. And I was so confused. I was like, You were here. I followed you. You were in front of me. You were talking to dad. I heard him. I heard the car. I was like, you were here. I was actually calm, just confused. One weird thing about me is if something supernatural is actually happening and residing in that place, I'm very calm. I feel at peace in the house. But if the house is new to me and there's nothing living there, I would freak myself out. But anyway, I was calm at that time. I was like, okay, we'll just wait for you. And then during that dinner, she was asking me about information about what I saw and stuff like that. Yeah, I saw you. You were wearing your floor pants, and I'm not telling a lie. And then she just whispered to my dad, I think she's seeing stuff too. So I was like, okay, I'm not the only one who's seeing stuff. She, she told me that she feels things, sometimes people calling to her, but she doesn't see stuff the way I do. I don't think she has like what we call the third eye. That's what we call it here in the Philippines. Like actively seeing it. I don't have it now, but when I was in high school, I had it. But yeah, that was one of the creepiest stuff. But I have a lot more to share actually.